welcome back to Spotlight with Britt. And today, we finally did it.
It's here.
Remember, we finally had our ability to get together and have our one-to-one. We had to reschedule like 4 or 5 times.
And we were in each other's presence,
All
so
the
often,
time.
but we'd not really sat down and talked. And how special that was. It was perfect timing.
Yeah, and
As always, that's what happens.
look, do you know that I've known you for about a year now?
It has been a year.
Because we were
February
delivering.
or March.
I was delivering the directories, and that's when I met you. And I'd already met Carolyn, because I met Carolyn when I was at THV.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Stephenie Cooke with Alzheimer's, Arkansas.
Hey, everybody out in podcast land.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pleasure to be here with one of my favorite people.
I just jumped in. We've been sitting here talking already, and then I'm just like, don't even introduce.
And so I have to say, I'm going to pop in because if you all have not been following Brittany and listening to her other podcast, I'm a big fan.
Thanks.
Seriously. And I want the name of your podcast is Spot On for many reasons. So I just have to say that publicly here for everyone listening, because you should be very proud of yourself, Miss Brittany.
Thanks.
And I appreciate you personally and professionally. We at Alzheimer's Arkansas appreciate you and your business venture. You're relatively new, right? We appreciate you all supporting us with our podcast as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a great opportunity to be back in your presence one-on-one, even though we have others listening now.
Yeah.
But, so I want to just say publicly congratulations to everything you've achieved.
Thank you.
In your professional life as well as your personal, because you've got a lot going on. Girlfriend. And what a month to celebrate women.
Uh-huh.
We're here.
Yeah.
In March.
Yeah, for sure.
So this is a treat.
Yeah, I'm excited that we finally were doing this, and we've got several things, like you mentioned, the podcast, and there's quite a few things going on in March, and then April's a big month for y'all, so I want you to start. So I already said how we met. So I was delivering directories, came and met you. I'd already met Carolyn, and then invited you to the leads group. So you are an amazing member of Power Hour at the North Little Rock Chamber of Commerce. And I'm so glad that you came and visited and decided to stay with us.
And I thought it was this fluky comment at first. Have you heard of this leads group? And I'm thinking to myself, how can a nonprofit give back to leads group? Because part of a leads group is a two-way street, right?
Yeah.
And Alzheimer's Arkansas is a nonprofit always asking for people in the community that need our services. So caregivers, there are not very, very many caregivers in our group, but we do have a couple in that group. And we all have a community of influence that knows people that might be able to utilize the resources and the services that we provide across the state.
Yeah.
But I always question, well, what can we give back? And what I'm finding is that I know I can give back some time in support of other members, and our organization can give back and support causes through our time and energy, not so much our financial investments, but when we can, that's what we want to do.
Yeah.
So I am so blessed to have been introduced to that group through you, and then that's led then to a friendship, to a small group of women friends.
Yep.
It's the girl club, the gal pals.
Yeah.
And even though, we have an age difference, and, that's what I like, though. You young gals are great fun to hang out with.
Y'all are so fun, though. Like, that's, we have, I tell people, I'm like, she's going to give another presentation, so y'all make sure that you're here. Your presentation that you gave about Alzheimer's Arkansas was just, we're talking about this article about self-empathy, right?
Sure.
And I feel like, I know how Carolyn and Jennifer and everyone work, and just how passionate they are about what they do and the people that they help. And I know you and how you encourage them, like what we were talking about. You encourage them to take time off, because it's a lot of time. We both experience it in different capacities, though, but after hours and working on the weekends. And, it may not be a paid something, but we feel like we're being called to that, or it's especially, it's special to us,
Sure.
like I was telling you, my great aunt had dementia, my mom's dad, my Papa Jack had dementia, my great grandma on my dad's side had Alzheimer's. I mean, Tony, her mom, Alicia, her grandmother, like all these different people that can benefit from you telling about and sharing the light that y'all bring to help those caregivers.
Thank you. Sure.
I mean, seriously.
Well, and thank you for the opportunity to be here and share with your audience, this audience, because Alzheimer's Arkansas, as you're aware, is celebrating its 40th year of serving family caregivers. And a lot of people don't look at themselves as caregivers. They're family members, they're a spouse, they're a daughter, they're a niece, nephew. It's just their job, right?
Yeah.
But for 40 years, our organization, Alzheimer's Arkansas, has served those unpaid family caregivers of loved ones living with any form of dementia. And you mentioned, you have family members who have had dementia, and those are just brain changes. For folks that don't understand, dementia is like an umbrella. Our brains neurologically change in many ways, but Alzheimer's, for example, is just one form of dementia, and it's not a part of normal aging. And so many people think it's just normal that we start forgetting things. And that's not so much normal. The delay in processing may be, or may become normal, but not that we forget people and that we forget where we set things and what we had to eat for breakfast this morning or for dinner last night. That's not the normal part of aging.
Right.
And so when folks see signs like those occurring to their loved ones, that's where I think Alzheimer's Arkansas can step in to help navigate through what's being experienced by a caregiver.
Yeah.
Helping family members to define themselves first as a caregiver, to acknowledge, hey, I'm a caregiver. I'm helping my loved one with some daily activity that they are struggling with, whether it's bathing, preparing meals, transportation,
medicine,
going through their medicine, being a medical advocate for someone,
right?
Just daily planning, coming up with a plan on what's exactly. So that's a caregiver, and so often those are unpaid positions, and those are causing family members to have to reduce the amount of time that they're in the workplace. Or having to give up a job entirely to help care for someone. And so what we want to do at Alzheimer's Arkansas is be a resource for them. Yeah. So whether it's for, just helping you navigate. So it's maybe providing you with a directory of resources in your community. Where to find those resources. We don't necessarily provide a sitter or a caregiver to come in, but we can help you find that when you're ready for that.
You're the connector.
That's the connector. And then we also have educational programming, workshops, printed resources and materials. A lot of this is on our website, and downloadable. We have support groups, alzark.org.
Yes.
alzark.org. We have a list of support groups that are affiliated with our organization that can be found there.
Yes.
We have a calendar of programming and events that can be found there. We have descriptions of what those programs entail. Because we do have options for caregivers that may not be able to come in person. There are options for on a monthly basis to participate in some of our support groups or our coffee with caregivers that's offered by our educational director, Carolyn. I know you mentioned a couple of our staff members by name. So we do have a hybrid events sometimes, and opportunities. And then caregiver stories. Now we're being able to share through a podcast. I didn't sign up for this.
Yes.
Our monthly podcast that was launched with you all this past week. And then we've got even caregiver video stories that can be linked from our website and our YouTube. And I'm telling you, just to be able to hear what others have experienced or are experiencing, to remind our caregivers out there that, number one, what you're experiencing is probably not new. Others either have been through that, are going through the same thing, or about to experience what you are as a caregiver. So there's probably not anything that we haven't seen, heard about, assisted with, or one of the members of our team.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And you're not alone. And that's part of our message. It's not part of our mission statement, but that's part of the message that we share with folks like you in our leads group and through your community of influence too, is just to say you're not alone. Yeah. And even if it's just someone to listen, or you need some safe space to come to, our office is open. We've usually got somebody there, and I mean, don't hold me to this, but usually someone is in our office by 7:45 in the morning, 5:30, 6 o'clock at night, Monday through Friday. And we actually have a room called the Phyllis Watkins Room. It was named for our founder, Phyllis Watkins. And it's a room that you can just come and sit in. You can cry, you can yell, you can sit and read a book, watch a video, and learn more about what it is you're going through.
Yeah.
So
respite, right? Is that a form of?
So respite is a break.
So is that kind of like a respite room, basically?
It could be a respite room. We'll call it I like that, respite room. But yeah, I mean, so I've had members of the family come in just because I happened to answer the door, be the only one in the office at the time, and invited people to come in and sit and have a cup of coffee, have a soda, have a glass of water, and just listen. I've cried with them. I was a caregiver. I consider myself a caregiver now with my mom.
Yep.
I helped with my grandmother after her diagnosis in her mid-80s because she lived another, I guess it's about 11, 12 years after her diagnosis.
Wow.
And, to watch that and experience that and to support her and my mom through all of that process, it's hard. It's hard to watch, and it's hard to experience, and I didn't sign up for that, right? But there's hope, and part of the blessing that can be found in that process is the fact that we can acknowledge we're a part of their lives, and whether it's another few years or end of life. That we're, to me, it was a blessing to be a part of that process.
Yes.
And to learn through that process more empathy and understanding of what others experience. My grandmother made a decision that she didn't want to be a burden to her children, and she wanted to be moved into a facility. Not everyone chooses to do that. Nor do they have the option. Chair? So, and she wanted to be in her hometown, which didn't have but one nursing home.
Oh my gosh! Sounds like Roanoke.
It was. That's exactly yeah. And so there was only one option, and that was a nursing facility that at the time had what was called a lockdown unit. And not everyone had the same amount of experience or training there. So that was hard for us to witness. And yet, because of my affiliation as a volunteer with Alzheimer's Arkansas, I was able to impart some training on the side to some of the folks that were helping to care for my grandmother and explain why she was acting the way she was acting and what they could do to make that better. So it was unofficial training.
Yeah.
And then helping my family navigate through how to communicate with even my grandmother, and what to do and not to do, and how we even talk to her was, I think, helpful. But yeah, it's hard. that caregiving
Yeah.
role in and of itself is very difficult, and we just want to be there to help.
Yeah, so that's your story's interestingly kind of similar to what mine was with my Papa Jack. He was my mom cared for him at home for like 6 months. She brought him into her home, and then he started to decline. And my mom has chronic kidney disease, and so the stress and the overwhelm.
Yes,
because she didn't take those times to
take care of herself.
Respite, and have a moment and do that self-care. She had to go into the hospital because her kidneys started failing.
And statistically, after the age of 65, there's a great number. The stats vary depending on who's done the study and all, but it's not uncommon for a great number, I'll say, after the age of 65 of the caregivers to pass away before the people that they're caring for.
Yeah, it takes,
because they've got to take care of themselves. And, we've talked about that before the start of the podcast. It's so important that people take care of themselves, and whether that is just staying hydrated during the day, breathing, getting some adequate rest in the evenings, to showing gratitude, eating well, moving, having a social connection. And that's what I've loved so much. Our work, the types of work and the outreach that we do by choice, so much of it takes so much time during the day that, we've got to remember that our gal pals and those social networks are important to maintain, because that feeds our soul. Yeah. Right? Brings joy to the heart. And so to help reduce stress, sometimes it's as simple as calling one of your gal pals or a friend and saying, let's go have some dinner, or let's meet for breakfast, or go and have a cocktail, or whatever that is that brings us joy. I noticed one of our friends posted on social media that she took a walk, an hour-long walk.
Yeah, just get out and
get
be
out,
in
get
nature,
some fresh air. And acknowledge nature, and all of those are things too that have been empirically proven to help reduce cognitive decline. And so there are even programs that are available to some of your folks out there listening and watching that all promote those things that we just listed as part of a way for us to fend off cognitive decline, or reduce our chances of those genetic links, those genes turning on for dementia. Because there are a lot of people out there that have genetic dispositions for things, and we don't necessarily have to take ownership of those, do we?
Yeah. And
it's like, what can we do to prevent those genes from turning on?
Yeah, I remember when you did that presentation that you were talking about just doing something different and like teaching your brain a different, even you said brushing your teeth,
with a different hand.
Yeah. I literally I have my electric toothbrush, and I do right hand all the time. I've been doing left-handed.
See? And it just opens different parts of that brain, right? Just to, try writing with your opposite hand, or simply drawing circles and coloring those in. Yeah. So just different patterns, forming different patterns are always helpful. In addition to, just, maybe it's coming up with a code of something and decoding things to puzzles.
I was gonna say, like those Sudoku puzzles, or like word searches, or whatever.
And even coloring by numbers, but all of that's helpful, right? Yeah. But just opening up the brain and listening to music. Listening to music. Music changes things a lot, opens up both sides of our brain, especially if we'd be willing to dance along to that music and get to move in a little bit. So I always say, dance like nobody's watching, and nobody wants to hear me sing. But it's so helpful. Yeah. For brain health.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned music, because I actually didn't put this note up there, but in the back of my mind, I knew I was probably going to bring it up. But, the Fish 93.3, it's a Christian music station, and they do the 30-day challenge. Oh, okay. And they say, just listen to our station, turn it on 93.3, and just leave it on there for 30 days and just see. And I'm going to tell you what, like, it really does, music, the words, you know, just that melody. I mean, it can really just take you out of a it can take you out of a funk mood,
Yes.
or it can get you prepared and energized for, you know, a big speech or something, you
That's
know,
right.
like people say, I'm gonna get up and go do some kind of presentation. Well, I turn on my song to get me all amped up and ready to go before I go out on stage
That's
or
right.
something.
That's right.
And so yeah, but so this morning the fish was talking about their it's Women's Day out, so I've never been.
Okay.
And I'm not going this year because it's on April 11th.
Well,
And you
wonder
know-
what's going on April the 11th.
And it was so funny because as soon as I heard April 11th, I was like, oh, nope, I got plans that day. I'm going to celebrate the 40th anniversary.
So you may be able to participate in both. I don't know what all's going on
No,
that day, but
I don't
you
know.
know,
No,
so
I'm not even- Remember
yeah,
learning
so,
to say no, right?
There we go.
I'm going to be there to help volunteer
So
at the event that night.
Alzheimer's Arkansas officially turned 40 in January,
Okay.
but we're celebrating with everyone on April the 11th.
Okay.
In North Little Rock downtown on Argenta Plaza. Rain or shine,
Rain or
everyone.
shine,
So
yes.
because we're going to take care of you. So if we need tents, we're going to have tents. If we need heaters, we're going to rent heaters. But this is a rain or shine event from 5 to 8 p.m. We're going to have information about us. We're not going to bombard you with that, but it's going to be there if you want it and need it. We're going to have live music from Rodney Block.
Yep.
We're going to have door prizes. We're going to draw for some really cool door prizes. So if you do make a contribution, and that is not required to get in, but if you make a contribution, you're going to get a raffle ticket for a chance to win one of many door prizes.
Nice.
We're going to have a program. We've got the North Little Rock mayor that's coming to read a proclamation.
Oh.
A little after 5, so we will try to start around 5:15 at the latest with a program. Our North Little Rock Tourism Director, Karen Trevino, is going to be there to speak and welcome guests.
She's speaking a lot. She spoke at the lunch on Friday.
She's got it
awesome.
going. We love us some Karen.
Yeah.
And she's great. She's a great friend of the city and of tourism in general for Arkansas and our southern region. And then we're going to have, of course, food and beverage vendors will be on site. They're actually donating a great amount of the proceeds of their sales back to Alzheimer's Arkansas. So if you come and want to eat there, you're supporting us. Okay.
That's incredible.
And then we're going to have a couple of caregivers share their stories, and a couple of other stakeholders, you know, why they're involved with us as volunteers and as fundraisers for our organization. And so I think it's going to be a great evening, and come on out and join us again April the 11th from 5 until 8 p.m. On Argenta Plaza in North Little Rock. So and anyone downtown North Little Rock that wants to get involved, we're looking for door prizes. We're looking for opportunities to plug you.
Yeah.
So there are sponsorship opportunities for this, because anyone that makes a contribution of a door prize or some other in-kind gesture for that evening will be acknowledged from the stage and on banners. And then we've got VIP tickets for $100 each for those that want in a special VIP tinted area.
Okay.
We've got a champagne toast that we're going to make, and a dessert available there, cake and cookies that have been donated. And then for $1,000 or more, you become a Friends level sponsor, and then we've got higher levels with other marketing perks and such. But so we've got the Frank and Barbara, the Broyles Foundation is a major sponsor. I do want to say that the Broyles Foundation is a sponsor of the event. We've got the Burkett family that is a sponsor, and of course North Little Rock Tourism is sponsoring as well. So I do want to say thank you to those folks that have made early commitments to help us celebrate, because this is a celebration. I want to personally invite any of our past board members, volunteers, donors to come and be a part of this. We are celebrating a legacy that started 40 years ago, and we're celebrating what's going on today and in our future. And we've got some wonderful opportunities ahead of us serving family caregivers, and we want everyone to come and celebrate those caregivers. And the unpaid time that over 40 years of our involvement have been given back to loved ones. And, you think about that, Brittany. We know statistically that they're in the neighborhood of probably 60 to 100,000 caregivers. And statistically there's an amount, but we know for a fact that there are a lot of people out there that don't identify as a caregiver. So there are probably a lot more than stats are going to show. And depending upon the stats you're looking, there's 56,000 to 93. It depends on the year of the statistics and who's collected them again. So we know there's a wide range of, caregivers out there. And those caregivers, may be kids, right? They may not even be a part of those statistics, because kids and grandkids, nieces, nephews often help with a loved one, right?
Absolutely.
And so they may not even be in that number.
Yeah.
But you think about that proclaim to be, I'm a caregiver, caring for someone, and those are unpaid, non-professional caregivers that are donating hundreds of thousands, in the millions of hours of time caring for someone. And I think it's pertinent for us to say that's saving money. That's saving taxpayer money. Down the road, that, for them to be willing to step in and care for loved ones, that saves a lot of money to others down the road.
Yeah.
And so I believe we can do better as a community and as a society in supporting our family caregivers. Yeah. And we need to do better. You think about, so many people are diagnosed with dementia now in their 40s, 50s. Right. But we think it's an old person's disease. Okay?
Not so much.
But even if you look at those 60, 70, 80, 90, 100-year-old people that are living with some form of dementia today, they've given a lifetime of work and support and love, volunteering, financial gifts to other people, and what so often happens is they're the forgotten ones.
Yeah.
So as a society, I think we can do better. There are countries in this world today that celebrate their elders, and they provide them with free housing and free health care.
Oh yeah, there's still multi-family housing
support.
Yeah, especially I know in Latino communities.
Sure.
They tend to do that, and that's I get, I haven't had the experience that some have had, but I've, been in the trenches, and trust me, I do not feel like I should be the one doing this for my so-and-so, but
that's right.
It's like, you're there because they did for you. And, like they say, and like it says in the Bible, you're supposed to care for the widow and the orphans, right? And so in some form or fashion, they may not have lost a husband or, be without a parent. But, when people need help, that's what really helps bring these caregiver networking events even more power, because, you're there, you're going through it. You have that support group, kind of like my ladies group, that we're talking about. Like, there was a lady last night, and she's like, look, y'all have no idea how much the time that we spend together, even though it's just once a month, how much it means. And then when you've reached out to say, hey, I'm thinking about you, shoot a text, make a phone call real quick. How much it just can really lift somebody's spirits.
That's right.
To know that you're thinking about them.
Yes. Well, and that respite, because that's respite too. Respite time, as we say it in the caregiver network, is one thing, but respite just to individual, just human beings. We all need a break, right?
Yeah.
And we all need to be doing something that makes our hearts happy, brings joy to our lives, for our health. Yeah. Physically, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. Yeah. I'd say energetically. Add all facets of our. We have to have a break. And,
you have to be intentional.
That's right, and you have to do that. Take that time, because it will equate to better sleep. It will equate to happiness and a sense of well-being. And those little mini breaks, we should actually, as you and I were just discussing before we went on air, every day, you know, and even taking 5 or 10 minutes out can make a difference. And so whether that's a walk, go outside and just walk around the block, to petting a kitty cat or your puppy dog,
gosh,
you know, think of how much that, you know, and we know empirically, scientifically, medically, we know that brings down your blood pressure and your pulse rate. Just
those
petting an animal.
endorphins,
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, it's wonderful. So, you know, and there's so many ways to just take those breaks. But, you know, we encourage those at Alzheimer's Arkansas. Those, you know, our caregivers are encouraged to take those breaks. And we try to provide some breaks for them, you know, through respite activities, whether it's a paint party or going to lunch, coming to a brunch, providing a dinner, an evening out to see a play or a movie. We try to do that in cities across the state. And I was just meeting with a donor this morning, and this particular anonymous donor was just like, well, where else do you need to be? What other communities do you need to be in? How can I help you be there? And
That's
so
awesome.
what an awesome opportunity to spread financial gifts into communities that need them. You know, and we find that everywhere. You know, everyone needs a break. So don't forget to do that. And learning to say no in our busy lives, sometimes that's our break. But don't you find that service to others, when maybe our break is in service?
Oh, it's so rewarding.
Well, I was reminded by one of my dearest lifelong friends said one day, don't ever think you're a burden. You may be a blessing to someone. So my grandmother saying, I don't want to be a burden to my kids, became a blessing for others like me. It was a blessing to serve in her, you know, the latter part of her life and her last days. It was a blessing to be a part of that. That brings joy, you know. So a lot of times our service to others can bring joy to our heart and be a respite to us, because it's a break in our routine, in the patterns. So, I mean, I think service to others can help with our own brain health and physical and emotional health.
Yeah, and that was the other thing. My Mimi said that right before the time that she finally was able to get that appointment where her doctor was not there, and she had a fill-in physician. And she told my mom, she said, had been telling her, because my mom would take her to the doctor, and she had polymyositis, and it's like an autoimmune disease, and her musculoskeletal system, she just started to get weaker and pain, but she said, I don't want to be a burden. And she got her wish that one day she gets to be put on hospice.
Wow.
And you know, we cared for her.
Yes.
And it was painful to go through that as a close family member.
Sure.
But knowing how she felt about, they talked about it on one of the I didn't sign up for this episode. It hasn't come out yet.
Hadn't come out yet, but we talked about hospice.
Yes. But hospice, and then also, oh gosh, what was it? It was where, I think it was about Jan. I lost it.
Well, so one of the things that we want your folks to know about, you know, hospice is not a dirty word. It's not anything negative to think about, because hospice, you know, hospice services, you know, are there and available to help come in and, you know, provide support for families. But on the back end of that, grief support after the fact for a number of months. So, you know, sometimes, and hospice doesn't necessarily mean that we're losing our loved one tomorrow or next week or even next month. Those services are available could be for an extended period of time. Yeah,
I love that Dr. Bell was talking about that. They come in, or they do the evaluation, and if your loved one doesn't qualify at that time because they don't meet whatever criteria, then guess what? They put you on a list, and they follow up, and they stay in touch with you over a period of time.
That's right.
And I mean, like, that's, you know, I have told multiple people that since I heard that. And, you know, because it's like, so much lately. So-and-so went on hospice. Yeah. So-and-so's on their way out there. And I'm just like, but it doesn't have to be like
Yeah,
you
we
said.
don't have to look at it that way as a negative. And here's something too. Caregivers quite often are either embarrassed to, fearful of asking for help. And we can be good neighbors by at least offering to support, offering to sit with someone to give a caregiver a break, taking a meal to someone's home,
Yeah.
giving them a gift card to a grocery store or some other entity, a gas card, offering to help with transportation. So we don't always think about that because some caregivers we may have in our lives aren't going to ask us.
Right.
But please know, caregivers need support. And it may be even the offer of coming to say, come on, I'm taking you for coffee. I'm getting out of here for a little while. And that's where, our in-home care agencies can play a role. Because even those can be just for a couple of hours a day. It doesn't have to be a full-time support. Maybe just a couple of hours each day or a couple of hours on certain days of the week. Or just coming in to give a caregiver a break for a certain thing. Maybe it's preparation of a meal and helping to feed or to bathe.
Yeah.
Or, so it can be very specific reasons and specific time frames. And it can, by the hour.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't, recognize or understand that. And, each community here, I guess, in Arkansas, most communities have at least a resource. There may not be as many as we find in metropolitan areas, but there are resources out there and resources available to help with that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I'm so glad that we did this.
I am too.
Because
Thank you.
I see the heart that you have for people, and whether it's helping your staff or giving back and just being part of and being willing to volunteer and take that time that you would have for self-care, like you said, doing something because it does fill your cup.
Sure.
It can if you put that time in the right place. Like Craig said, what moves you?
Right.
What really, sets your heart on fire?
Right.
And
so important.
It is. Okay, well, thank you, Stephenie with Alzheimer's Arkansas.
And thank you, Brittany, so much for allowing me to come and just be a part of your day.
Thank you for your sweet words. And if you have not signed up to follow I Didn't Sign Up for This, check that out. There's all the different channels, all the different sources and platforms for podcasts. I will make sure there should be, I know there's links on our social media and
We've
stuff,
got it on our website too
it's
now.
on the website,
we have a
yes.
page for the podcast.
So check that out. alzark.org. Stephenie Cooke, the executive director with Alzheimer's Arkansas. Whatever time of day it is, I hope that it is blessed for you. And go out there and spotlight in this beautiful day. And we'll catch you next time.